Hello, this is Cosmic Ninja, and I just want to say welcome. Please hit that like and subscribe button.
Hello and welcome, as you've already heard. But this is Cosmic Ninja, and this is another episode of Planet Zoo. This is another one of those zoos I've built in my free time. When I just need time to think what I want to do next on this channel, I kind of deviate and just play one game for a while. It's either I'll go play Pokemon, or I'll go play Planet Zoo for a while, or I'll play a Civilization game, and just whatever I'm in the mood for. And prior to this game, I was playing a lot of Total War, which I don't record that because I do use mods and stuff on Total War. I try to play if I'm on record. I try to do games I don't use mods or anything on, just to keep it easy, I guess. As I would love to record a playthrough of Total War. Oh, I love that game. But anyways, this is Planet Zoo, and if you are liking these episodes that are coming out, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and leave a comment down below. Our goal by the end of the year is 1,000 subscriptions. So let's see if we can hit that. Okay, guys? It's a new year. Let's go at it strong. With that being said, as you can see, this zoo's name is Jamestown Zoo. The name is still kind of in works. As you can tell, the game's been going for a while. It says year 70 down at the bottom. I spent a lot of time on this one, and I kind of left it running overnight one time. So 20 of those years is not accurate. So about 50 years. But with that being said, um, we'll just turn off the overlay so we can just focus on the zoo and look at that. Um, this zoo's design took in other aspects. It is actually open. I know I did a recording of another zoo, um, where the zoo didn't have very many people walking around and stuff because I had closed the zoo for most of the time of its construction. So there wasn't a lot of people in it towards the end when I was doing a lot of that construction that I was showing y'all. But in this zoo is open. And there's a central pond. This is just a reflecting pond. There's no animals in it. There's nothing in it. It's surrounded by pine trees, blocking the views of all the habitats on the side. So they have to come in and go straight into this building. They don't have to spend any time just looking. I try to make it as regal and grandeur as I could. I was kind of taken in by the aesthetics of colonialism. The entrance, as you can see on the front of it, matches the entrance of this building right here, which is a default building. I did not build this building back here. I'm the one highlighted. Did not build it. It is a pre-built start of the game building. Um, so therefore, um, but anyway, we're gonna go ahead and go inside this building. I've spent more time on this one. It has a ramp and two staircases up in the middle. It'll come up to a food court right here at the beginning. There is seating. If you go around to the left or the right, you'll come across signage that says what's there. There's ATMs there, restrooms there, and then a big bank of windows. One bank of windows is overlooking. I don't have a in the distance. It looks like crocodiles, bison on one side. I can't tell from that side. And then on the other side, sorry, it overlooks water. So otters or seals or something. Um, they're not too close, but you can see them in the different distance. So, but the windows are more or less to let light in. And then there's a fountain. The fountain is actually on land. I didn't want it to be on the pathway because people are walking literally through the fountain. I'm gonna come back through here with wood boards that match the walls and just underneath it. So it is what it is. Similar to how I did this back here. This is just a decorative thing in between the two staircases that go up. Now we go up another floor to what's called the exhibit hall. The exhibit hall in this save game is not a separate building. Um, in the most part, there is a separate buildings per se for some of the exhibits, but most of the exhibit animals are right here. I think the frogs, spiders, and snakes are somewhere else out there. There are there is three exits to this main building. Um, no, just one. Sorry, one. Like I said, the windows are just for letting light in. There's one exit direct. If you were to cut through everything, it cuts right from the front entry. And this is the grandeur on the back side. There are cameras everywhere. Right now, I'm trying to figure out the path layout for everyone. I have the path laid out, but if I open up certain pathways going certain ways, they ignore other animals or they won't go certain directions like I want them to. So right now, I've got pathways closed off with the employee pathways. Right now, they have to cross the flamingo lagoons. On one side is the American flamingo, and then on the other side is the greater flamingo. As you can tell, there is a million people up on here on this platform. There's the greater flamingos there, and missing the American flamingos there. We'll go to the other side. There's some American flamingos right off there. If we stay on this pathway going out of the Flamingo Lagoons, it will eventually take us down to the entrance to the Arctic. Um, we will come back to the Arctic. The Arctic is the last build of this zoo, and the building and the exterior and all the habitats themselves are built. There's just not animals in all the habitats yet because they're still trying to bring them in. I wanted to leave something of extension in this one. Um, it literally is just down to the animals that need to be here. All the buildings and structures are done. So we're going to hang a right and go this way, past the Arctic, past the Flamingo Lagoons, and we will come eventually to a pathway which is closed off. But this one is the Greater Ray off right here. As you can tell, I closed it off and there's people still on it. So it's right here. It's pretty. People like it. Over here next to it is the African elephant. There are some elephants right there. Pretty. Probably should reverse the elephants and the greater rays. Oh no, these aren't the greater rays. These are the emus. There's the sign right up here. I knew there was a sign. I just haven't duplicated it on this end yet. Like I said, there's minor construction decor mostly that needs to be done. Um, on the back side of the emus are on the left is the Indian peafowl. There's its habitat. And then over here, the red kangaroo. tree coming out of there, so I gotta fix that. Okay, over here on this corner is another food court building. As you can tell, there's no gift shop. I forget about the gift shop in almost every one of these builds. So I gotta work on that. I've gotta learn how to build one myself. This little opening right here leads to employee area. Um, this right here on the back side is what's called the farm. If you go in here, it's a walkthrough, interactive habitat that has sheep, the chickens, the Highland cattle, the pigs. It's just millions of them. It has its own seating area. It has its own entrances. It has TVs, chicken coops. It is ready to go. You come back over here and follow this path around. Going around the red kangaroo, of course. We'll speed up. Like I said, there's the signs for them. I just gotta more or less duplicate those walls with the words and put it on the other end. The same with the emu. So, all right, we're back at another intersection. This is the emu flamingo pathway, which is closed, and this will lead us what's called the grasslands entrance. On one side is the grizzly bear. We didn't mean to cut through there. And over here is the gray seal. Great. Whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. Further down is a wolf. I want to say winter wolf, arctic wolf. There it is. There's a lot of habitat there. Anyways, that's the only thing down this pathway is its habitat. I need to put something else there. Right here leads to the entrance of the African grasslands. Um, the reason I went with that kind of stone is everything behind this point is animals that are mostly all in Africa, to some extent, and that live in the savannah area of Africa. So they can basically it's all the same climate. It's not a got a it doesn't have a closed roof on any of these unless absolutely necessary, but it's got anything. Correction on the elephant we saw earlier. That's the Indian elephant. The African elephant is in here. So we will now go hang a left right here and go through this door. Right here we have food court information, restrooms, ATMs. The ATMs aren't up against the wall in this one because I wanted to kind of, I don't know, add depth. I didn't want everything up against a wall. Sorry. And then there's a long tunnel out, and then it will take you straight up against the bonobos, which is kind of a monkey of some kind. If we hang right, we will walk down in front of over here. 90% of these habitats are full. I think there's only one that's not filled in this one. And it's just because the animal kept dying off and I just cleared it out and haven't filled it. I haven't really decided what to put there. So, over here, as you can see on the big letters, is the African savanna elephant. Ah, look at all those elephants. Pretty. Over here is the cheetahs. And I mean, there's not a lot of cheetahs. The foliage is verbatim to what the game says, not a whole lot. So on the side, we just kind of went down. I don't know why I just threw everything off that way. We came past the black rhinos, but we're going to have to look at them. All right, so we have the cheetahs on the right here. We have the black rhinos right here. Um, I think they're pretty. It's actually one of the only games I've actually managed to get the rhinos in. Okay, come up over here to the dromedary camels on the left, right there. There's a lot of camels, so some of them are going to get auctioned off or released to the wild. This is the empty habitat that originally had something, and then it just wasn't working out, so I haven't figured out what to put there. Back here is the West African lions. Its habitat, if you look here into its habitat, you see a wall that jets out with its door. This wall actually went straight on back, and then there was another habitat next to it right here. This one. This was the original dromedary camels, but the camels needed more space, so I moved them over. Um, I still need to put their name right here since it's here, but I haven't done it yet. And so this is us also West African lions, and there are several over here you can see. It was easier because a lot of the lions hung out in the back over here. They didn't really hang out here, but it looks like they've split into two groups. So I might need to come back in here and build another sleeping area for them. Over here on the left is the sand cat. It's a small cat, but there's its habitat. On the right, here's what I call the bazaar in this part. This part, it is the food court for this area with some restrooms, tables. I kept the theme going throughout. Um, those are underwater. There's not a lot of water. Over here on the left is I don't know. On the right is what's called the savannah. We'll come back to that. Over here is the western lowland gorilla. There's one right there. I don't know why, how. There's always something in this habitat. So over here are the hippopotamus. I just put hippos over the administration door. This was two habitats, but hippopotamus needs so much space that I made it one. And then I have another empty habitat. That's I didn't know that was empty. Back here in the back half, I have, or which is actually back at the front, I have the African leopard, which has this habitat. Are there any? There's six. So where are they? It's hard to show you animals when they're like non-existently. Uh, it's a deep habitat, so yeah, it makes sense. They're all back here. But there's the African leopard. All right, we're going to go back to the savannah that we just kind of skipped. All right. The savannah is a habitat that you take a train through. Not sure where all the trains are, but it is a literal walkthrough. Well, ride through. So let's see if we can't find the trains. Don't know why all of them are gathered back here. Always gather in groups. And then they're sparsely up here. They're weird. Probably put another sleeping quarters right here. But in this area, we have the African buffalo, black wildebeest, blue wildebeest, common ostrich, common warthog, zebra, giraffe, sable antelope, southern white rhino, Thompson's gazelle. And that would be everything inside this area. This is district. All right, guys. So that's everything in this district. We're going to jump back over to the entrance to the park real quick. So hold tight. All right, we're back over here next to the lagoons again, facing the Arctic. Now, instead of going right, we're going to go left. On this path, we're going to come across some different animals. Right here, I'm not sure why the pathways are not connecting right here. It's just so weird. Let me see if I can't fix it real quick, because it's going to bother me. Alright, I got that fixed. So, see, now they can walk. Anyways, here's the gray seal habitat on the left here, in the front of that. There they are, happy and content. On the right, we have boring orangutan. It is very happy. The the animals on this end are very popular. Over here we have the alpaca. This area was the original farm. Um, and I moved the farm because they needed more space, and put the alpaca right here, and left it as a walkthrough habitat for the alpaca. So it's been a hit. Over here is the giant pandas. We'll keep going down. We have the moose right here on the left. Got a moose right there. And then over here we have the great array. We have the red fox, more moose, and then we have a food court. This is an open air food court, unlike the one on the other side. Um, Oops, I didn't mean to jump in there. All right, at the intersection of here, the gray seal flamingos. Another pathway problem. I'm not gonna worry about that right now. Yes, I am. All right, that is now fixed. Somewhat. All right. The reason these poles are here because originally I had a line that blocked this. So, like I said, there's some tweaks and stuff. Right here are those little horse things. I forgot its name, but they're a hit. They're doing pretty good. It's actually the first time I'll put in this park. And we go down here, we'll come across the saltwater crocodile. It's doing pretty good. It's got a lot of foliage. I think that's a saltwater crocodile. That might be the American alligator. Yeah, American alligator. I get them backwards. And then here at the very end is um the American bison. This started off with four. They've had some fun, but it was also one of the first three habitats. This was the first expansion. Was the jungle. Um, it is the most fully completed area outside of the African grasslands. The decor over there is fully done. There's just missing two animals, which I didn't realize. I thought it was just one. Um, so you know, this one is more. This one's done. I say this. Yes, this one. Yeah, unless something has died off. So when they hit Q, we're gonna come in here. Originally, this tunnel right here was the only entrance into the zoo. I have since added two more tunnels because it was so bottlenecked. Oh my gosh, you have no idea how much bottleneck this game. So we'll go down the original one. It comes out facing towards the lemurs. We will endure the lemurs in a moment and the Chinese pangolin, and we're going to head down this pathway. Right here off to the side is a small exhibit room. It takes us to the jungle snakes. All seven snakes are in this room, even though they're not all jungle animals. Only two of them are. The others probably should have gone to the African savannah, but I was doing something. So, and then back here is the orangutans. Again, there might be some duplicate animals due to a glitch. Those back there that were on that pathway are going to get moved over here. And then I'm going to probably put the chimpanzees there. Over here on this side is a jaguar um, interactive. Lots of foliage, seating. Should be able to see some jaguars. There's one, two, three. So And then, of course, the glass dome or pyramid dome going up and down like that. That was fun. And then we'll come back out, head back down to the main walkway. We got the Chinese pangolin over here. They require a lot of low vegetation, so it makes them harder to see. But they're right there over in that anthill. All right, over on this side is the Komodo dragon. We'll get a better view of that when we come back around towards the entrance. For now, we're gonna go into the lemurs. I always build a giant building for the lemurs. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of the trees. I have put so many things that they can climb on throughout this entire walkthrough. You have no idea. There's interactive teaching moments scattered through, the TVs are scattered through, there is seating scattered through, trash cans, collection buckets. There's no way no one can say they didn't see. And then of course there's lemurs that just roam free. Look at me hit that light. And then we'll come back out and we're at the crossroads behind the lemurs. Now, the best way to describe the back half of this part of the jungle area is it is just nothing but a chaotic, every path leads to the same path. We can go forward and we'll come back to this point. We can go to the right and go up and we'll come back around to this point. But we're going to go up and to the left. Walk past all this, just decor, decorative. Over here is just a jungle of decor, um, which you can walk through. There is no animals in this decor part right here. Although it does lead to one. There's an exit. It's an interactive jungle walking through that leads out there and then leads out there. Like I said, you can walk. It's just kind of like a park. So, all right. If we had skipped it and kept on going straight, we would have come across um, saltwater crocodiles and the cranes, and in the jungle, um, misspelled gallery, but it's basically the food court with some benches and some tables, and in the back there's a door that leads to the restrooms, and eventually a door that leads out to a pathway for employees. But this is the building. It is. It's yeah. It's been rebuilt about 3 times, so I'm still not happy with it. Anyways, we'll come back out. We'll come back around, and we'll hang a left here at the crocodile. Um, on the left is the crocodile. On the right is the jungle. There is a lot of animals in this thing. Oh, and then there's a monkey. A monkey. I want to say it's the Procrustes monkey. Yeah, pro, proboscis monkey. Technically, in this zoo, I do have aggression turned off, so uh, predator predatory isn't a problem. Anyways, we'll follow it to the end of the path. Like I said, we can go to the right. It will take us all the way to the far side of the jungle part, or we can go left, which will take us to really nothing. I don't know. It takes us to a path. Never mind. On this path, we'll walk in front of the Shang. This path does lead to a little table area. People can eat. This leads to the butterfly habitat exhibit. And then over here is the sun bears. There's a bear right there. Right here is a clouded leopard. And I know it's in there. It was one of the last animals I put in here, so we'll keep him out. This path will take you all the way back down to the entrance to the lemurs. If you look closely, you can see it down there. And then if we keep going forward, we are going to come across the speckled something. But it's right there. Alright, we'll go back around over here and look at the girl. That would be the girl. And then we will keep going forward. And then we'll come across the Bengal tiger. They're right there. But eventually it'll take us back around to that main entrance area again, where we came out by the lemurs. Like I said, they all paths lead to the lemurs. If we had gone left at the lemurs and taken this path, we will come across the Asian small otters. We're just going to jump off here. There's an underground food court, and then there's a viewing windows for the otter. So, and then we'll take it straight down. And it brings us to the other side of the Komodo dragons. A lot easier viewing side too. Um, this was a little bit fun. This was like a last minute. I was trying to figure out what to put here. Um, in this little corner over here because it just didn't have anything. I couldn't think of anything. This was the hardest corner to fill in this entire section. I knew I wanted the Komodo dragon, but I just didn't know how I was gonna make that work. But I did. Over here is another viewing area for the Asian small otter, even though you can't see them on this end. Sometimes they come down here because of the mud pit. We'll follow this back around to the front. Um, there's the sign for Komodo dragon. Back here is the sign for the Galapagos tortoise. As you can tell, it has a lot of babies. Right here is the exhibit room where the frog is. So all that's left really to show you at this point is going to be the Arctic. So give me a moment and we'll be right back over there. All right, we're back over here by the flamingo cage again, and now we're going to go forward. This is what's called the Arctic. This was the last expansion to this zoo. It is built. It's not decorated. It is well the entrances. Um, as you can see, all the trees in the it's courtyard area, lacking chairs, lacking trash cans. The building is built. It's got a small little food court, but it's lacking a lot of stuff. Um, when you come in, we have the Arctic foxes on one side and the Arctic wolves on the other. Every one of these has a roof. This is under a complete roof because of all the cold that needs to be in here. Um, so I built this as a giant interconnected building with giant columns, giant walls, everything. There is an open section in the middle for the trees. That is the mute swan habitat. Generally, as you've seen, those are what I put at the entrance, but I put them inside here in the Arctic. Changed it up a little bit. I've started decorating this area. If we had taken a right at the Arctic fox, we would have followed this pathway down. Those lead to the administration side for the Arctic, um, and then down. Like I said, there's not a lot of animals in this area yet because it's still under construction. Um, this leads to the polar bears, which used to be the king penguins, but yeah, there's the polar bears. There's only four of them here. Like I said, they just got added, so I know there's not any in the water because I can see them all right there. I'm jumping back out across and hanging left here to go back in front of the Arctic foxes. There are no animals in the back half. Run past the Arctic wolves and we'll come to the snow leopards. As you can see, they're right here. They like their snow. We skipped this hallway between wolf and leopard. It leads to the other half of the king penguins. The reason I said the king penguins was on the other side because originally this was going to be wasn't here. I had designed this front half differently, and this was going to be the new like a giant amphitheater where I put all the educational booths. And then I changed mine and kind of had this mirror to the other side and moved the penguins over. Um, like I said, this is still in progress. Most of this just got built. I believe I just finished the main building itself. Because you come over here on the other side of the Arctic or on the mute swans. Um, All of these are empty. They're built, they're ready, they have the doors to go to them, um, but they're not, don't have any animals yet because like the Arctic is still being housed and they're still doing finishing touches. Um, it just opened to people so they can start seeing some of the animals that are already here because there's at least five in this area, and that was my bare minimum to have at least five. Um, so, with that being said, folks, we're going to go back out here. And we're just going to teleport to the front half of the zoo. And with that being said, folks, that is the conclusion to the Jamestown Zoo. I hope y'all really enjoyed this zoo. If you have any comments about the zoo or what you'd like to change, I know I need to fix the Bahraini and orangutans. I can't believe I did that. Or what Arctic animals to kind of fill in those other five exhibits because there's five left in that area that I can put in and open suggestions. Um, but yeah, definitely hit that like button, hit that subscribe button because the goal is 1,000 people, and we will go from there. With that being said, guys, thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a great new year. Welcome to 2026.